So keep in mind that I am being drugged. This video I'm making right after the last video, and there's been a few day break between the first two, I believe. At least one day. This video is about the Jedi trials. This is a very key video. I'll speak very slowly, and as much as I have a whole bunch of more pages, I have like 13 more pages to go, you know, I'll dedicate this entire video to the Jedi trials, and I have 3 pages of notes to go through, actually 3.5, so bear with me. The Jedi Trials by Rez Telly. Rez Telly. Quist. The key. The keys. The T is the plus. Remember the key and the chi versus the ka. The chi is your worldly energy. The ka is the spirit of God that comes down, you know. And of course, some people see it as the bull. Some people see it as the crow traversing into the black, right? Osiris is the father of Horus, and so on. But again, this is more to do with my other video. I mean, this has everything to do with this. You need to understand Egyptian mythology and where martial arts come from to understand the martial arts order of Star Wars, which is the scientific kind of math and science, philosophy, biology, physiology, form, figure, elevating the Western shapes, you know, over the African shapes that have cultivated martial arts a long time before the West did. They were kind of using brute force and clubs. That's why it's called the Force. Okay, foresee, right? Who foresees things? Because they write the script and control the opposition. Okay, so let us begin. The Jedi trials, they date back to the birth, the boar, right? The boar, the hippo, and the jackal are forms of Set, the Sith. Both sides are Sith, just like with the Temple of Set in San Francisco, where they say there's no white magic, there is only black magic. They wear a pointing hat. If I could, I'd wear a circle on top showing the point is not the man, right? The man saying there's no limits, but rather the point is the strength of the sun, which is the spirit of the Lord that marshals the solar system. They date back to the birth of the order on Tython, during the pre-Republic era. Tython. Again, the T is the plus, the H is the fence. You can remove both T's. You get Y on. Know why. To know why when you do it backwards. During the pre-Republic era. So let's start with the trial of scale. Listen carefully. Trial 1, the trial of scale. Again, scale is using what scale? And of course, we have the word kill. That is the true scale. Application, not presentation. Sparring is really what's more important, and pretty much the only thing that's important. So you need to demonstrate. Demonstrate. Demonstration. Demonstrate. Demonstrates of Jedi's competence with the lightsaber and the force principles of control. Ka pet on C-A. On Ka. There's various ways to interpret it, and there's one true way, then there's a bunch of delusional perspectives for controlled opposition bitches, right? This is about controlling the lightsaber. Now think about it. If you have a long African arm, which is more effective for striking with spears and at long range, is it easier for you to balance things and demonstrate control with a lightsaber? No, it favors the Asian, the Eurasian, the European, the Semite, the Islanders to some extent, the Native Americans, people who are shorter, right? Trial of courage, right? Liqueur, right? The heart. Cur, the core age. Which age are we talking about? The martial artists of old that you should elevate above everyone who came later, the African martial arts from Neckin and the leopard society in sub-Saharan Africa where the leopard roams to this day, who's going extinct because of their disrespect for the true martial art order? Which age are we talking about? The age of pederastry? Yes. The 24,000, which really they're referring to 2,400 years ago, which really starts with the pederastry age, or the rise of Babylon with the collapse of the Old Kingdom, which is about 2,500, 2,400 BCE. So pedophiles, Babylon mystery, Babylonian Roman Empire, you know, and there's many connections from to Babylon with the Roman Empire if you do your history. So this establishes a Jedi's skill and fortitude in the face of danger and overwhelming odds. The trial of spirit tests a Jedi's ability to vanquish inner battles and emerge unscathed. Okay, so this internal conflict, the New Age guys believe destroying the ego, telling the E to go versus how long ago, right? The age versus ego, right? You need to have your ego, your sense of place. You don't need to have a false ego to be cocky, arrogant, pompous, and to have a diluted version of ego, but truly know your place versus let's all be equal, gender neutral, emasculated, beta males. Everybody is equal kind of nonsense. No, that's not how you order society. The sun is not equal to the earth. It is above the earth. It is more important. It marshals the planets, not the earth. The trial of the flesh determines a Jedi's capacity to overcome great pain. Leave it to sexual sadists to single out a trial for pain and to torture somebody to get them to prove themselves. Okay, of course, there's sexual sadists and there is a sexual component to being a control freak. Is it out of this love from God, which there's a romantic component to love, or is it sexual control freak kind of lust, kind of sexualized culture, Western culture perspective? Trial of insight reveals a Jedi's aptitude for distinguishing reality from illusion through deceptive challenges. So basically people who are more prone to understanding how con men think are more likely to pass the challenge. The trial of skill is not a test of athleticism, but of control. They shift the floor tiles beneath your feet. Okay? And I think they even in the book they point out that that's not fair, right? It has to do with terrain, right? It's easier to balance yourself if you have certain body types. If you're short, if you're heavy, I'm sure you can figure out why that is. If you're like a leopard or you're a follower of the horse, the falcon, or the leopard, okay, you have a different type of balance that is more prone to being thrown off if you shift the floor tiles. So again, it is a test of control. Okay, if you're a big fat fuck, okay, and you're kind of like just standing still, it's hard to throw you off balance. Okay, if you're a very coordinated African guy, it is easier to throw you off balance moving the floor. Okay, I think we can all understand that. I think nobody objects to my explanation, and we all know they're the racists, not me. Did they design something to elevate their race, right? Their skin, what is fair? Fair skin above everyone else? Or did I? Are they telling the truth, or is it full of mystery and wordplay when life is short? And who's trying to be the most direct about their explanation? Okay. Trial of courage. A Jedi can never relax his or her discipline, nor can they fail to confront evil. That we can agree on. A Jedi who is afraid to confront injustice is no Jedi at all. Again, using their own scale, using their own messages in martial arts movies. Okay, so let's pick up where I left off. I don't know where to cut off, and I can't even review my own videos because of sabotage. Sabotaging my body, hacking, and other things that together make it hard for me to make my videos. The trial of courage. A Jedi can never relax his or her discipline, nor can they fail to confront evil. You can't say that enough, right? You're not even in the running for being a martial artist, really, if you fail to confront evil, whether it is inside, especially if it's inside your own system, or whether it's outside. Quote unquote, a Jedi who is afraid to confront injustice is no Jedi at all. Well, who's competing with me? If they're not trying to establish themselves uncontrolled, resisting injustice, they're not even in the running. What are we even talking about here? According to their own system, they failed. You know, and they certainly are in no position to tell me about martial arts when they can't even confront injustice. They're benefiting from it, and no illusion changes that. Which makes, and of course, there's wordplay there, right? The idea is I'm right about. Their trickery, you know, makes them try to feel better about themselves, right? In just ice. Ice goes back to the terrain, goes back to the moon temple, goes back to the cold, right? If you want to look pale, you're going to go to a place with less sun and spend a lot of time in the caves. Something to that effect, right? I'm not saying all white people are bad, but let's look at this thing. It's right there in their own wordplay. In just ice, right? Just us, just injustice, and in just ice. Okay. And of course, that also works in my favor when you think about it, right? Well, one way or another, I'm right. Let's move on. Which makes the trial of courage a real revelatory test. The purpose is to persist in the face of fear. Battlefield heroics such as standing up to a Sith Lord can lead a Padawan to passing the trial of courage. Overconfidence is a flaw, and rushing in unprepared can make things worse. Now, there's a difference between fighting and resisting to the death and rushing in unprepared. If there is no such thing as being prepared, you need to rise up and try to make people aware as you can on your way out. Okay? Helping them build the New World Order and doing little bitch shit here and there is not courage. It is not the way of the light. Okay? Of the true light, which is the sun, is symbolic of the strength of the sun, Ra. The trial of the flesh. Said to be the most difficult for some, it tests your ability to overcome great pain. All Padawans who survived a war injury passed this trial on the evidence of their scars. The trial of spirit. Jedis have an emotional commitment to a higher spirituality. Trial of spirit, also known as facing the mirror. The battlescape is in the mind, and it is done under deep meditation and with a master that will nudge you onto the path that you least wish to tread. Grief, shame, revenge, and all other emotions that center on the self can have no hold on you. No passion, there is serenity. Of course, I disagree. It also has to do with the seventh form. They subtly concede my point, and they're subtly saying I'm right. That's part of their system. And they also feed on the jealousy and focus that jealousy to try to take on my focused, righteous indignation. Okay, so meditation. Made I a shun, which also has to do with medicine, right? Made I sin, right? It made your perspective, the idea of the moon deity, sin. Okay, and of course it has to do with that's evil and so on and so forth. The moon is the prince of darkness. I've seen sissies pretending that the sun is really Lucifer. No, Lucifer is the con whore, not the true sun symbol. It is a fake sun symbol. Okay, and the devil is the prince of darkness. Okay, the moon. All right. Which ultimately is the god of this world. People think about sex and reproduction, which is pretty much the highest form of survival when you think about the flesh, right? Is to reproduce, because you're going to die anyway, right? So anyway, so that's finding your life in this world and so on and so forth. Okay. A trial of insight. Again, these are more elaborate explanations of these trials around page 102, 105, and so on. Okay. Receptivity of women in a society not worth saving is part of the insight. Okay, if you see women are not receptive to people like me, especially me, the world is not worth saving. The true trial of life has to do with that. Look at how women are behaving. See what you can do about it. If you can't do anything about it, be honest with yourself. And society's not worth saving. Hone, honorable, honest, hone, you're able. Hone, A's. Be honest. The E's are not honest. A bunch of beta males can't teach you how to man up, and they're not even honest about that. What can they teach you? But how to fail. The Jedi operating under delusion may become a danger to innocence to see if the Jedi could see through the patter, tapping, right? The patter is a tapping sound, okay? So of course when I move around fast and I outmaneuver a guy who's shifting stances, front stance, back stance, cat stance, side stance, bow stance, and so on, low bow stance, right? I can outmaneuver them easily. I move faster, I think faster, and I'm more maneuverable and more insight, right? I outthink, I use more innovation, more insight, I outwit them, okay? I use better stealth, right? The leopard and so on and so forth. Okay, pet or raw top payor, huts, using trickery, not martial art prowess, is how the huts are referred to. Of course, with pattern, you have pater, you have pattern, and also pater, right? The father, okay? And patre and patrician and so on, which is a Roman word for a certain class of people, a ruling class at one point. So the trial of skill can be passed with sparrings, page 105, against a battle master, and also blindfolded mastery of the saber. The trial of courage, saving master's lives or who have succeeded in a difficult mission. Trial of spirit, mastering one's own dark side. The trial of flesh, pain and loss. You have to deal with the emotional attachments to family, etc. This is also true. If you're going to do the right thing, you have to put God and the Ra and the spirit of righteousness above everything else, above your own family. Trial of insight. Which is ironic that they're taking on the war on terror subtly, saying that you shouldn't think that way when their own popular culture is telling you in their handbook to how to be a Jedi, that you should think that way. Trial of insight. If a Padawan has demonstrated wisdom beyond his or her years and training, especially divining a solution that avoids violence, that's how they can pass the trial of insight.